Hey, Jody here with WeldingTipsAndTricks.com. I make a welding video every single week, and they look something like this. Lots of good arc shots, as many as I can put in there, and as much instruction as I can fit in a video and have time to do. I mix it up pretty good between TIG, stick, and MIG, doing a little TIG aluminum and TIG stainless steel, and even throw in some projects wherever I can. I say all that just to say this. Next video, we'll get right back into the normal stuff with arc shots and everything. This video is a little different. This video is a little bit different than what I normally do. It's an interview with a local welding instructor, and it's to promote SkillsUSA. Hey, I'm here with Matt Hayden. He's a welding instructor at Cedartown High School, and he's heavily involved with SkillsUSA with the welding portion of that. I met Matt in Vegas a couple of years ago at FabTech, and he was there helping with the AWS International Pre-Trials welding competition. And most of the time when I'm at FabTech, I'm seeing these booths and these guys competing and all these different plate tests and pressure vessel tests and stainless, aluminum, and carbon steel and flux core and MIG and stick, and their welds are looking awesome. Let me just show you really briefly here some of the stuff that the competitors do. Just regular joints along with projects and pressure vessels that are tested to 1,000 psi, along with some stainless and aluminum projects like this. And these are students, and I've always been amazed at what a student could do that hasn't ever really entered the workforce. They're just in school, but they really focused and they got involved with instructors and they got tuned up and they trained hard and put in the long hours. I've always been amazed at the quality that they can produce. So I learned Matt was heavily involved volunteering with SkillsUSA. He has students here in his high school that compete, and they have a very strong welding program here, which I find that's an unusual thing in this day and time for a high school to have a really strong welding program. So I wanted to kind of get involved, see what I can do to promote SkillsUSA, because a lot of people don't even know what it is. So I'm going to ask Matt some questions here, and we'll see if we can dive into this and everybody learn something. So what is SkillsUSA in a nutshell?
Well, originally it was called VICA. That was back in the day when I competed, and back when you and I were probably at at that level. But it used to be called Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. And then they changed the name a few years back to SkillsUSA. And it's a student organization. They have high school chapters and college chapters. And it's a way for students to get involved and learn leadership skills. And they do competitions with actual hands-on and a lot of the different skilled areas. I couldn't tell you how many skilled areas, competitions, and things that they have, but they have competitions with leadership and hands-on skills: welding, machining, sheet metal, construction trades, carpentry, plumbing, masonry. They have cosmetology competitions. They have all of that, and they start off at a regional level. And then if you place high enough at the region level, you progress to the state level. And then with the SkillsUSA, first place competitors at the state level move on to the national competition. And that's where they'll compete against the #1 students from all the other states and even some of the U.S. territories. I know I've seen students there in the welding competition from, I believe, even Puerto Rico most years.
Okay. So when I'm looking on FabTech and I'm looking at this table, and it's got 20 or 30 test plates on there of completed joints by the students, and they look like a machine did them, some of them, a lot goes into that.
Years of training to get to that level.
And not just the student putting in the effort, but there was somewhere along the line somebody like yourself putting in some extra effort, working with that kid to help him get to the next level.
Yeah.
And so kind of, can you talk a little bit about that? Like your guys here, they don't necessarily do the exact same joints and welds that they do at the international level mainly. Yeah. What's something simple like the first level competition? What kind of a project or contest would be involved in their competition?
I actually have, for my welding students, because I usually have several that want to compete for me each year, I have a shop welding competition. I bring in my former instructor and other people from industry, and we run it after school one afternoon, one after school's out, and give the kids a simulated competition like what they're going to see at region or state. I give them a blueprint. They don't know ahead of time what it's going to be. Typically, it's going to involve a little bit of ox fuel cutting, and then we try to do stick welding, MIG welding, sometimes TIG, depending on what time we have to work with. And it's usually at this level, just for the high school, it's just going to be some fillet welds and things to, enough so that you can separate and place who's your first, second, third, and then whoever wins my shop contest, first place, will represent our school at the region competition.
Another thing Matt and I have in common is we went to the same welding school and we had the same welding instructor, even though it was years apart. I went in '77,
Yeah,
and
I
you
was in 91, 92.
and you were in '91. But Jerry Robinson just stopped by here, got to shake his hand and thank him, because stuff he didn't even know. He didn't know, I'm sure, back then, that what he was teaching me that I was going to take and actually do something with. But I really appreciated getting to see him today and tell him thanks for just being willing to share his knowledge, and
Yeah.
he is that kind of guy.
And so I was fortunate to have it at a high school level and at the college level, have great instructors. And, so what I see is what I'm doing is I'm doing for my students what my instructors were doing for me back then.
Okay.
Kind of paying back to the craft, So, not rocket science, but,
Right.
something that I feel like is a worthwhile calling.
It is definitely worthwhile.
So, it's males, it's females, it's the people that want to build stuff, that want to make stuff, the ones that want to
Yeah.
apply the theory. And, and there's a lot of math involved, especially with the sheet metal and the machining and that. So we try to touch on all of that.
Yeah. My personality is kind of like, I have trouble learning something if I don't have an application to it. You can teach me a hypotenuse of a triangle all day long, but
Yeah.
if you teach me, this is the way you learn how to put that cantilever brace or that gusset in there, you learn how to cut it or program it in a computer without having to go over there and measure it.
Yeah.
And over there might be 100 miles away, by the way, and so
Yeah.
if I know that there's a purpose behind the math and know exactly, I want to learn that because, I can immediately see, but that's generally not how the classrooms go, and then, that's where, I had trouble here and there,
Well-
but once when I can apply it,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the metal project in front of me and cutting it up, and you got skin in the game because maybe you bought the metal, so you
Yeah.
don't want to cut it wrong. It's a big difference, and so.
Application, that's what we do. That's,
I think
that's
it helps.
It catches the kids' attention.
Yeah.
Perfect example of that. A couple of years ago, we were building a track torch table, making a hopper of 100. So I had the dimensions that it needed to fit, so the hopper would slide in, fit under the table, and could be removed to clean out the hopper. I had a 4x8 or 10 sheet of metal that we were going to make it out of, and I wanted it to come out of that sheet with no scrap. So I took a couple of students. I knew they were, mathematically, really smart, and I told them what I wanted, and we sat down, or got down on our knee with a piece of soapstone on that sheet of metal laying in the shop floor, and did all the math to calculate, the hypotenuse. I asked them, do you remember the Pythagorean theorem? And they said, yeah, they knew it. And I said, okay. So I gave them some dimensions, and they sat there and done the math. And then I said, okay, now do you remember how to use sine, cosine, and tangent to calculate these angles? And they said, we remember doing that in school. And I said, well, here's, why we,
Yeah.
So they sat and we did that. And then when they were done, they cut the metal, we shaped, we made the hopper.
Yeah.
And they said, I just learned more math in welding than I ever did in math. And I said, no, you learned it in math.
You learned it, but it didn't stick because
But
there was no application.
I said, all I did was showed you how it's used.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they were tickled to death.
Yeah, they're not going to forget that.
Yeah. And it's the application,
It is. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Now, when you competed in
I did.
SkillsUSA, did pretty well, right?
I did, yeah, I did okay.
And
I
so
was first loser.
you went through the welding program, got through all that, and were able to pass the certification 6G
Yeah.
pipe test. what was it that made you decide to go this route, teaching high school students, as opposed to go make a lot more money as a pipe welder?
It's kind of hard to put, your finger on it. I did work out in industry for a number of years after I got out of school. I worked as a supervisor over a welding shop for about 5 years. The job here at the high school came open, and I really wasn't even going to apply for it. But, the job I was at had kind of grown to a dead end. I wasn't enjoying it anymore, and it didn't, it wasn't one of those jobs where at the end of the day, you felt like you had done something worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually my wife had, I told her about the job here, and I said, but I don't even think I'm going to put in for it. I said, it's a pay cut. I don't know if I can, I said,
yeah.
And she actually convinced me to put in for it. And, I'm glad I did. Now, I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, doing something worthwhile.
Now, what would you say, like a lot of high schools, again, don't have the type of programs that you have here. I don't know if it's the location, this is kind of a rural area. What would you advise as far as how to get involved, how to learn about it, how they can learn about how they can get plugged in, and have their students get plugged in to where they can take advantage of the competitive atmosphere, because competition on anything makes you take it up to the next level.
That's it.
If there's no competition, you can imagine I'm sure Michael Jordan, if he had just been shooting hoops as opposed to playing one-on-one pickup games, he wouldn't have been where he's at. It's competition, iron sharpens iron, that kind of thing. Well, how would you advise them to get plugged into that?
SkillsUSA is a nationwide. It's not just for our state or other states. Some states are more involved with others, but if you go to they have the SkillsUSA.org website, and then you can go to a link on there, and that can get you in contact with your state association. So we have like SkillsUSA Georgia, and there's contact information where you can find out more information about each state's SkillsUSA. And so if you went to their national website, that'll get you more information, and find out just get in contact with them and find out what schools are involved, and find out what your school has to do to become involved. And it really takes somebody as an instructor at that level to kind of grab the bull by the horns and get involved. And a lot of times it's a thankless job.
No more pay,
but
more hours.
A lot more hours, but a lot more fulfillment. You get a lot more out of it, I started putting some pay stubs in the classroom in here. I got a place that says show me the money. Former students pay stubs, most of them working through pipe fitters out of Atlanta. We've got a good relationship with them. I still do work during the summers when we're out of high school.
Still work shutdowns and things like that?
I'll do some shutdowns and summer jobs through our pipe fitters local. And my high school instructor told me one time, he said, if you want to make a good welder into a bad welder, he said, make them a teacher. So you get out of practice. You get out, especially when it comes to being in tight spots and all that. So when I do some side work during the summers and things like that, that's when I get my practice time back in. And so, but
I saw one of those paychecks for a week's pay, a lot of overtime, probably 7 days, at least 12 hours a day, close to $5,000. And that check's 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, and I think that was out of, I'll say somewhere in New York. And the pay scale varies from place to
across
place.
the country, right? Well, Fab Tech is going to be in Atlanta this year in 2014.
It is.
In November, and they're going to have a competition there. What is that competition, and where do the winners from that competition go, and then where do they go from there?
Well, they've got that's the AWS pre-trials for the International World Skills Competition.
Okay, that's the same thing where we met in Vegas. It's going on 2 years later, right?
Every 2 years they have the World Skills Competition.
Okay.
And the representatives for the World Skills Competition from the United States come from the SkillsUSA. That's how they get involved with that. I think they send out I'll say it's about 24 invitations from each year.
Mm-hmm.
And then if the students accept the invitation, they send them the prints and things that the student has to build back at their home school, and which is sometimes kind of difficult because a lot of these students have already graduated,
Right.
and from high school and college. It's
Mm-hmm.
high school and college, competing against each other. But they'll build pressure vessel, aluminum projects, stainless projects, pipes, bevel
Mhm.
plates, V-groove plates, some really tough,
Yeah.
projects. Yeah.
Okay.
And at the FabTech show, there also the United States Skills Committee invites other countries to come and bring their competitors for extra practice, because what happens when you got the competition, it raises the bar for everybody. So.
Mhm. It's amazing. It's testament to what can be done when a seasoned guy like you or Brandon or somebody is willing to devote time, and the student is willing to focus
Yeah.
and lean into it, and just really,
All that time under the hood, they're investing in their future.
they are.
And
They
sometimes
are.
they don't understand that. But
Well, it's a hard thing for a young person to understand. It's delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to just make six figures right out of
Yeah.
school, and
I still want to make six figures one day.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's why I'm here, because it always intrigued me. I'm looking at these plates and I'm like, there's a lot to this story. That plate's awesome. That's great. I can just walk away and now go see the rest of the show. But there's a lot behind that. Like, what kind of hours did that kid put in? What kind of hours did guys like you
Yeah.
put in working with him? And he might have started just with some little simple drawing at against guys in his own
Yeah.
region, or and worked up to that point.
Well, the last time leading up to the FabTech show,
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 students get the invitation for the pre-trials.
Mhm.
So I had 2 students going through it at the same time, and for probably over a month straight. Now, this is not counting the years of training they did
Yeah.
prior to that, but just to try to make it to the top 6 at the FabTech show,
Uh-huh.
we worked 7 days a week. We were in my shop at the school 7 days a week. And you got the most accomplished on weekends,
Mm-hmm.
because you could really focus and just
Yeah.
work with those 2 students.
Mhm.
And one made the top 6, and I think one missed it by the next spot,
Mhm.
and so,
And you weren't getting paid a dime.
no, but we were up here sometimes 10, 12 hours a day on, that was pretty much our normal day.
Yeah.
10, 12 hours a day on Saturdays and Sundays leading up to,
Yeah.
the
Well, you are giving back. That's for sure.
well,
Thanks.
thank you, because, it's, I could tell people in my community till I'm blue in the face, hey, there's a good career and a good need for high-skilled welders,
Mhm.
but it's gonna take more than just me, and so,
Yeah.
it's gonna take us all.
We'll try to get the word out there.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Good.
Thank you, Jeff.
Good.
You can learn more about Skills USA and how to get involved at SkillsUSA.org. All right, well, that is it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll get right back to the normal scheme with arc shots and instructive stuff on the next video. Subscribe if you like what you see here. Visit the store. We'll see you next time.